I think what a lot of people would like to know, and hopefully you'll be able to discover this, is how does the sort of the chain of command actually work? Because everybody says to me, oh well, you know, during the rioting, that was just the CPS and the magistrates who decided that these people needed to be taught a lesson. Absolute cobblers, right? Because there's no chance that there wasn't political interference. Who they keep denying that there was, but there's no chance that there wasn't political interference from the government to make sure that the crackdown was delivered.
Well, the reality is we had a Prime Minister that stood there and said he wanted people to be dealt with promptly and to set a clear example. So the direction was clear. And look, we all want robust, clear, rapid justice.
Yes.
But that should apply everywhere. So the process should be exactly the same. And then if everybody who commits a crime is dealt with promptly and rapidly and fairly and consistently, happy days. Right. Then you've got time to worry about tweets, if you want to worry about tweets.
Well,
like
Keir Starmer, inexplicably, is in the Telegraph this morning saying, you know, telling the police to go after proper criminals rather than people who...
Well, he might want to have a word with his Home Secretary first before telling anybody else what to do.
Yeah. Because they continue to do it. You know, we had Julie Bindel saying it happened to her, and there'll be probably many, many more cases of it happening that we don't even know about yet.
Well, that's right. I mean, maybe actually some of us should do an FOI request of all the 40-odd police forces to find out how many non-crime hate incidents have been recorded against me, for example. Well, exactly. I have no idea. Maybe the police dared knock on my door.
Because, I mean, I remember from talking to Harry Miller up in the north of England when he took his case up into the High Court and won against the police who tried to do him for a non-crime hate incident. He said, you know, there could be non-crime hate incidents against you and you don't even know because they don't always come and tell you.
This is, I mean, if that's the case, it's complete madness. The whole non-crime hate incident thing, it just needs to be scrapped. You've already got existing laws that deal with what they're concerned about. Genuine incitement to violence, genuine racism. There are existing laws. Rely on those. We actually need less laws properly implemented. A bit like you need less regulations properly implemented, which I think takes us on to the other daft story in the...
Well, I mean, meanwhile, I suppose I should ask you really about Keir Starmer in front of the Times as well this morning, because he's off on his 15th trip abroad since he's been in charge.
He seems quite keen to be abroad. Maybe does he not like us?
No, apparently. Well, the front page headline on the Times, I said this morning, Starmer wants to build a new rapport with China. How about he builds a new rapport with the people of this country who found him to be the most hated Prime Minister of all time?
It is quite extraordinary. He seems to be so out of touch. And why is he disappearing on all these trips? I mean, the idea of going on what I call the Taliban cop conference was just absurd.
With, by the way, 470 other people he took with him.
Of whom 350 were public servants. I mean, I call it the Everest of hypocrisy. They were basically going on their own net zero holiday. That's what it was. At our expense, millions and millions of pounds. I mean, maybe you needed 20 officials. You didn't need 350.
What do you do with... I mean, 470 people.
But don't worry, the BBC sent only 30, so that's fine.
30. Brilliant. Unbelievable. And also, why is he cozying up to China? You know, do you not know that there are still members of Parliament who have been basically kind of cut off and sanctioned by China and told that they could never travel there and probably have been under surveillance by Chinese spies, you know, and yet here he is, wants to be mates with them.
Well, I think the reality is that he seems to be cozying up to the wrong people because you've just mentioned China. I'm very concerned that he's trying to cozy up to the European Union, despite the fact that their biggest single economy, Germany, is in even more trouble than we are. Germany's in recession, heading south. It's basically in free fall. Automotive industry collapsing. Why? Oh, funny that. Basically, too much adherence to the lunacy of net zero, too much mass immigration, too many regulations, and too high a tax bill. Exactly the same problems as we've got. So that's the warning. You've got high growth going on in America that's going to go gangbusters in the next 2 or 3 years.
And have you seen Trump's popularity? I mean, you saw him turning up to that UFC thing with Dana White and Joe Rogan in the background and Elon Musk walking around. And I mean, he's walking around like he's literally just the king. He's like the emperor.
Well, I think let's watch what happens. But he's appointed a very, very experienced top team, including Elon Musk and many others.
And a very interesting climate skeptic. And people are calling him a climate denier. I don't use that word. Climate skeptic as the Secretary of State for Energy.
That's right. Well, I call it common sense. And so they're going to keep enjoying cheap energy. Drill, baby, drill. That's what gives you cheap energy, makes you competitive, means you grow faster, which guess what? Means everybody gets a bit wealthier. And actually, everybody being better off, making more money is a good thing and we should celebrate it. Hard work's a good thing. being successful, being an entrepreneur, risk-taking is a good thing.
Yes.
And
even Labour government like you doing it because they're going to take half of your money if you are successful.
Well, they don't actually understand that if you take too much money, then you won't bother because it's not worth it.
Well, I'm hearing already that the stamp duty tax scenario, where they wanted to put stamp duty up, has already caused a complete stagnation of the housing market.
That's right. And so, funny that, and of course, I mean, you collapsed in laughter last week at the GDP figures, which was the stunning sum of 0.1%. I mean, that's not growth. It's not even a round of drinks.
To be fair, it was a cherry on the cake because I'd already been put into hysterics by the Welsh Labour Party, who said your dog might be racist. I mean, that was kind of where it started. But unfortunately, there we are. But also, don't forget the House of Lords this morning on the front page of the I newspaper are working on some kind of secret cabal-like scenario to get ever closer union with the European Union.
We want ever more distant union from their rules and their regulations. I mean, what is wrong with these people? Why can't they wake up and say, where's the fast-growing nations around the world? Oh, funny that, none of them are in the EU.
Right.
Where are the slow-growing, big, sclerotic, overtaxed, over-regulated nations in the world? Oh, goodness me, what a coincidence. They're all in the EU.
And they're all using the euro as well.
And they're all using the euro, so we should be aligning ourselves with the US. We should be trying to do a partial trade deal with the US. Some things might be too difficult. Do a partial trade deal, get some confidence. We've got a president-elect who likes the United Kingdom, which is a pretty good start.
It is.
And who's got very good friendships with my dear friend Nigel Farage. And we should use that to the maximum potential leverage.
Much to the chagrin, no doubt, of the Prime Minister.
Well, it was quite entertaining in the House of Commons last Wednesday when Nigel invited the whole House of Commons to join him in congratulating President-elect Trump. The place fell around, collapsed in absolute uproar.
Exactly right. Also, we hear that Donald Trump is quite keen on using Rwanda as a possible destination for the mass deportations. I mean, you guys have not been in favour of Rwanda, have you, at Reform?
We never thought it would be a deterrent. We said, actually, the only deterrent is to do what Australia did, which is to pick up and take back. And then to process rapidly and deport back to where they came from. So, but you've now got, I mean, you've got a Prime Minister that's sort of throwing cash around all over the place, whether it's Vietnam or whether it's other nations.
It's a great idea to give Iraq some money, I've always thought. I mean, you know, what are they thinking? And we've also got figures where in the past sort of 6 to 8 months, 100% of applicants from asylum from various countries, including Iraq and Vietnam, 100% of them getting in.
But, well, this is what we knew would happen, which is basically an asylum amnesty, which was started under the Conservatives. We warn this is what they're doing to clear the backlog. They're basically just saying, tick, 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 you're all in, folks. Regardless of who you are, where you've come from, what your motive is, and
what you might do.
Well, also what you might have done. What may or may not be your criminal history. And then we read today in the papers, I mean, at the height of madness, the ECHR means now we can't deport a convicted paedophile. We read in Scotland, who now has to stay in the United Kingdom for his family life.
Even though he's been actually abusing his own members of his own family.
Been abusing members of his own family. Who knows what he might abuse in the future. And this is, you know, those who support staying in the ECHR, this is on you, folks. And any more crimes convicted by these sort of hideous people, this is on you.
Absolutely right. Now, I don't know whether you know, but the theft that took place at Windsor resulted in the theft of a quad bike and an Isuzu truck. I've got this from Daniel in Surrey. He says, "Morning, Mike. I think I've just bought a quad bike from Prince Andrew off eBay. The cost of living's kicking in everywhere."
Dear. I mean, who knows? Do you approve of quad bikes? I mean, you're not very keen on e-scooters.
I'm not that keen on quad bikes. I don't like seeing them on the road, because you get down into the countryside, you know, down in Sussex and things, you see these characters driving them on the road. I mean, I'm sure they're great fun if you've got a farm.
They're great fun on a field, that I can confirm.
I'm sure they're very useful if you work on a farm, because, you know, you've got to go long distances and all that. But I don't like seeing them on the road, to be honest, because they don't look very safe.
Well, I think they can be perfectly safe, but it's all about the user, isn't it? It's like a car.
Exactly.
A car is safe when it's, you know, got someone sensible like you behind the wheel, Mike.
Indeed, absolutely right. And my car is absolutely going like a thing of great beauty at the moment. And every time I see electric cars, I just think, you know, you poor have you still got yours?
It's wonderful. It's a great piece of technology. Right. I like it because it's a good piece of technology, not because it's going to save the planet. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever.
No, of course not. And also, it's made by Elon Musk, so at the end of the day...
Well, exactly, you see.
It's good to be on the right side.
It's good to be on the right side. I think you might get there in the end.
I might do. Well, I keep saying, make them cheaper, I'll buy one.
Well, there you are. You see, you're a very frugal man.
I am very frugal, as you well know. Anyway, good to see you. Richard Tice. We'll keep... when's the first sort of next update, I suppose, on the Manchester airport?
Well, we'll be releasing the letters later this morning, and then there's a process. And regrettably, it will take some months. That's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
And it depends how quickly the police and Crown Prosecution Service give us the information that they've currently got.
Find out if they've made any inroads whatsoever. I mean, 4 months of investigation, they should have found something out.
Well, you'd like to think so. Let's wait and see. We'll keep people updated.
Absolutely. Richard Tice, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.